You are about to take a journey that will take you through the space-time continuum to a world full of nothing but geeks. Welcome to Galaxy of Geeks podcast. Here are your hosts, Victor and Chris. Punch it!
Welcome everybody to another live edition of the Galaxy of Geeks podcast. Sorry we didn't do last week. It's been some crazy times here on both the U.S. side and the Spanish side over there by you. So a lot going on. Lot going on, even though we're both in quarantine.
Yeah. Well, I made a trip out of quarantine. Did I tell you this?
No, you didn't.
Okay. I was rushed to the emergency room.
Oh, you did tell me that. So
okay.
Oh, I thought this was something more fun than being in emergency room.
No.
Okay.
That was very much fun. You know, fucking looking like you're in a hospital during it was so surreal, but whatever. Yeah. So from March 11th till now, I've left the house once, and it was to go to the emergency room. So,
well, that's great. That's great. Well, you're healthy, so you're good. You don't have the COVID.
No, I had an anxiety attack, and it was the first time I ever had anything like that. And I have a friend who's a doctor that said, "Well, you're getting old, my friend." I said, "Oh, thanks. That's assuring."
That's great.
Yeah,
that's what you want to hear.
Exactly. So
it's like, yeah, I know I'm getting old. I don't want to acknowledge it, but you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, whatever. This is the old G.I. Joe slogan. Knowing is half the battle. So being able to know what the hell you have going on also helps psychologically kind of control things. So
right. Yeah, exactly.
So there you go. So live therapy here on Galaxy of Geeks.
That's right. 100% live therapy right here. Airing it out right now on the Galaxy Geeks podcast.
Yeah. So I was late because, like I told you before, we're watching Watchmen.
Oh, right. So yes.
There was an episode that was, we got up through episode 5, and it was ending right around the time that we were supposed to hook up. So I apologize.
That's okay. Well, it's a valid excuse. I mean, you were watching Watchmen.
It was one of those things where it's funny because I think somebody posted in the group how, what people are watching on Netflix because they were a big sci-fi fan and
yeah, my buddy Bill. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because we sat there on Monday. So we looked at Netflix, Amazon Prime, and HBO. And I said to my wife, okay, what's the next series you want to start? I said either Breeders, which is highly recommended on HBO, or the other thing that I can think of is Watchmen. And so we watched a trailer for Breeders, and I told my wife, I'm like, fuck this. I'm like, it can be highly as recommended as they want, but two parents that are dealing with, young kids and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I'm living this right now. I'm living this during this whole fucking thing. No. I don't need to relive it through a show. Enough drama in my life that I don't need another drama. So we went for Watchmen, and we've been pleasantly surprised since. So,
yeah, I mean, I loved Watchmen. I was hooked, and and the first episode was, I mean, that's an amazing way to start a series. I mean, and actually too, just goes to show how much they don't teach you in school on history. I mean, I don't ever remember even touching on that in history at all, like any history class about that actually happened. In the 19, I think what year was that? 1920 or
somewhere around there, 2021, I believe. But
in Tulsa, and that actually, I don't know if it happened to the extent of how they. They made, but it was based on a real thing that happened, and I had zero idea that that was a historical event. So just to start off a show like that, and then be and then blown away, and okay, where is this going to go? Because I remember the comic. Obviously, it's one of the most popular graphic novels, probably, and everybody says it, and it is. I think it's one of the best written graphic novels of all time, and so I was really curious as to how they were going to bridge it and make it all work.
What about the movie? I mean, I think for the most part, we've all seen the movie. That was, at least for me, I think my first introduction into the Zack Snyder world.
Right.
And the movie's okay. It's just way too fucking long. I mean, it's 3 hours and something, and
yeah, it's nuts. It's and I'll watch the movie, and there's a lot of parts of that film I like, and then there's other parts like anything else. It's like, okay. I do like the fact that the show was more a continuation of the graphic novel as opposed to the movie, especially with the original ending of the graphic novel being brought into that, and even seeing like the flashbacks of the whole event and everything. I loved all that. So you haven't gotten to the end yet, so I'm not gonna obviously spoil it for you. But I'm sure you're already feeling like each episode it builds more and more momentum and all the little mysteries they have in there. And I will tell you, you get to the end and I was really, really happy.
So where I ended it is where Looking Glass gets home, and I saw it coming a mile away. I told my wife, I'm like, the fucking 7th Cavalry is going to be showing up any second to kill him. So, so essentially, the last scene is that him going into his house and the 7th Cavalry arriving at his home. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, here's hoping that he's got another way into his like fallout shelter type thing, but I got a feeling that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good so far, and I don't want to sound as if I was hating on Zack Snyder, because maybe I'm not a fan of his DC stuff, but I love Sucker Punch.
I love Sucker Punch. That's like, I love that. Every time it's on, I'll always watch it, and I'll put it on too. I'll be like, I haven't seen Sucker Punch in a while. I want to watch this. So I agree. And I love 300. I think 300 is an awesome movie. I really enjoy that film. I think it's cool.
I'll cop to the fact that I've never seen it all the way through.
Okay.
And the reason being this is that I have a lot. Well, it's funny. There's a few different stories I can tell about this. I have friends that absolutely love that, but hate comics or graphic novels. Okay. There's a friend of mine who absolutely hates this stuff, and before his band would go on and play, he would watch 300 to get pumped up before the shows. And I said to him, I said, you realize that's a graphic novel? What do you mean? I said, that's based on a comic. That's not history. That's Frank Miller's interpretation of something that took place historically, but it's very embellished, and it leaves out a lot of shit, and it leaves out a lot of what these Spartans were really about, and people that they purposely sent to battle to have killed so they wouldn't die. They did a lot of like cowardice shit to try to save their own hides, and in the end, they were in real life they were fucking bowled over. I mean, it was 300 against, I think it was like almost 1 million soldiers. So they were fucking done. And for any conservative that's out there that that also sees that as like a big deal for to pump them up or whatever, just know that these Spartans invented a certain male-on-male type sex because they were up in the mountains by themselves. There were no females to be found in real life. So, sorry if you didn't know that.
Now you do.
Now you do.
The more you know. The more
you know. So, as the old Jerky Boys skit goes, I don't care, as long as there's a little heat in there, I'll do what needs to. What needs to be done. So, anyway.
So so I put together a little agenda for us. and I found another feature of this wonderful Be Live app, which puts the agendas up. So.
Okay.
And it'll
to quote the famous now I forget it. Dom DeLuise.
Dom DeLuise
from Cannonball Run. Since you're about to unleash this, let me do my best Captain Chaos imitation. Dum dum dum.
There it is.
Oh, Rex Manning Day.
Yeah, so it was yesterday, April 8th. But hey, it's a happy belated Rex Manning Day to everybody. Rex Manning.
Rexy's so sexy. So
Rexy's so sexy. So figured it was just worth calling out the fact that yesterday, April 8th, was Rex Manning Day, and a very, very celebrated holiday here in the world.
The movie should be a big deal for a lot of people from Jersey because it was shot in Camden.
Mm-hmm. It was supposed to take place in Delaware, which I actually never knew until I just looked up that it's actually a record store in Delaware, which is odd because it feels so LA, but it's shot in Camden.
Right. It's shot in Camden. Was never released in the theaters. It went straight to video basically, and it got like a cult following. And this was like Anthony LaPaglia's last like role until he the hell was the show that he was on that lasted a really long time?
Oh my God.
Not Law and Order, but it was where he was looking for missing people. The most interesting part of the show, IMDb, folks.
Yeah, the most. There we go.
But
IMDb.
As we're looking this up, I mean, it is just so there's so many iconic things outside of Rex Manning, him playing the drums to AC/DC's "If You Want Blood," in his office, and just like beating the shit out of the other kid after for taking all the register money and going to AC to Atlantic City for those that aren't from the area.
And there he is.
Without a Trace is the big role that he had for a long time. It was a show on CBS. Lasted 7 years. I love it.
Do you want to come over?
little Rex Manning there for you.
There you go. Mon amour.
I love that this actual whole video exists.
Yes.
All right, enough recommending.
And how many people were in this that went on to like bigger things after? I mean, if you look at the cast,
Liv Tyler,
Liv Tyler, Debbie Mazur, Robin Tunney. Well, Robin Tunney, I guess from The Craft, people would know her from that. So she was probably the biggest name in this movie at the time. Renee Zellweger, who was unknown at the time.
And just won an Oscar.
And just won an Oscar. So, this movie is outside of Anthony LaPaglia. Maxwell Caulfield is the one that played Rex Manning. So, and he's best known for Grease 2, it says, and the Colbys.
So just a quick bit about the film. I just found this online. It actually was released in theaters. It grossed $250,000 in its 2 weeks in release in 1995 with a budget that topped $10 million. So it was only out for 2 weeks, and then it went straight to I guess right to video.
Mm-hmm. So, which back then was a big deal because it isn't like now where a movie's out in the theaters and 2 months later you can buy it, or now on digital download a month after it's out of the theaters, it's out there to rent or to purchase. Back then, 2 weeks, and then video on demand or DVD or VHS for that matter,
Right.
was a big deal. It was definitely considered a flop. And from 10 million to 200,000, I mean, that's
I
pretty
mean,
shit.
that's it doesn't get any shittier than that, I guess, unless you're
Well,
like, Dark Phoenix.
well, Dark Phoenix or Army of Darkness. Have you ever heard Bruce Campbell talk about Army of Darkness, where, when Ash versus Evil Dead came out, they asked him, they said, well, you should have done another movie. And he said, no, this was the perfect platform. And he basically said, Ash versus Evil Dead, they gave him, I think 9 million was the budget, I think at the time. And they made like $1 million in the theaters,
Right.
something like that. And they recouped everything in DVD and VHS and rental and all that. So the money, the movie ended up making money over time. But he basically said, there's no way that I wanted to be under that pressure, to be given all that money and then have another bomb take place. He says, yeah, I know that there's a cult following, but he alluded to the fact that Sony, who put out Army of Darkness, was expecting all of this, like fanfare and everything.
Right.
When Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 were really cult films, they weren't, something huge, similar to what we had talked about in the last episode with Kevin Smith. A lot of his stuff are still to this day are cult movies. And when big studios got a hold, with like Mallrats or with different things, they expected, they signed that band per se that had sold that gold album, and they were expecting them to go quadruple platinum. When, the fan base, the fact of the matter is that they're still a thrash band that really isn't going to reach out to the masses.
Right.
That's
right.
That's my analogy.
It's a good analogy, though. It's pretty good. Yeah. No matter how good you are, it's just not connecting to like a mainstream audience. So
yeah. That's the thing, and that's what happens in the entertainment business overall. Whether it's music, whether it's movies, the people are expecting, to automatically come out of the gates and multiply what a previous album or what a previous movie has done. But a lot of times, you don't attract that casual fan base. Who's the difference between making something become a blockbuster or making something become a platinum selling album back in the day? The diehards still go, but the diehards are still going to give you the same amount as what they, gave you for the previous few movies. So
right. And so, to bring it back, Empire Records, Rex Manning Day, but Empire Records is a really, we just watched it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, on I think it was last Tuesday or something. I tried to get the girls to sit down and watch it, and they were like, I don't know, they just weren't into it. It wasn't their thing, but I watched it from start to finish. I was like, man, this movie is just a lot of fun, and it's a total nostalgia trip. And of course, the whole Rex Manning thing is just makes it more fun. So happy Rex Manning Day, everybody.
Well, this is something that we've talked about with your girls in the past too. I mean, when it comes to Star Wars, for us living that stuff in the 90s and understanding what a Rex Manning type icon was in the 80s or the early 90s, is something that falls on deaf ears to them. Because if you think about it, I mean, how old's your oldest daughter? She's around
20.
20. Okay.
Yeah, she's 20. So she was born in 99. So
in 99, and the whole culture had changed by then. The whole, grunge like alternative thing that they're trying to portray with when Renee Zellweger gets up and plays with that band and everything. That was done and over with by then. I mean, we're in the thralls of new metal, and that's, when she was born. That's not even counting when she starts mixing in with friends, and when music and culture start to become something important for most kids. So for a lot of people, watching something like that, just seeing the Rex Manning character, something that's probably repugnant and more repulsive, and why is this even being brought up? Because this should have never existed.
Yeah, I know.
Different.
It's funny. And you know what? And real quick, another hot fact is that Renelle Zellweger actually did sing.
Yeah, I knew that
in the film. Oh, okay. I didn't know if I didn't know that. I looked that up too, because on the soundtrack, it's not her. On the soundtrack, it's a real band. That dude is in a real band, and that's his band.
Yeah.
And, but on the soundtrack, it's not her voice. It's another singer. But in the movie, it's really Renee Zellweger singing.
I have the soundtrack somewhere.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
Yeah,
that Jim Blossom song is awesome.
Yeah, the whole thing was cool, and I mean, just to have a good old no, I'm doing it backwards on the camera. No, I can't do it. Well, just reverse it. ST, suicidal tendencies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which is great. So.
Yeah.
All right. So moving right along. Next topic. Look at that.
Dun dun dun.
Looks very pro. So yeah, Twin Peaks 30th anniversary was yesterday as well. Celebrating 30 years of Twin Peaks, which I can't believe, but I know when we've talked about Twin Peaks in the past, it's definitely a show I love. It's up there with my favorite shows of all time series, and it's weird to think it's been 30 years. I mean, when you watch the original series, it looks, so 90s. It's
right.
Crazy. But I mean, that first season, man, is like just awesome. And it's so great that David Lynch and Mark Frost got together and created this show. And it was such the anti and parody of like a television show. But doing like all the weird occult stuff and the mystical stuff, and it just with an awesome like murder mystery in there with the whole noir mix. It was just the perfect storm for a show like that to come on, because honestly, and just thinking back to that again, like there was nothing on TV that was even remotely close.
Yeah, nothing.
I mean, that was so original and so different. I mean, I even think back to like, I think you have to go back, honestly, in my opinion. I think you have to go back to like Twilight Zone episodes,
right.
And Alfred Hitchcock Presents and things like that to get like, the weirder, not mainstream, kind of programming.
Right. I think for most people, and this was a opening for Mark Frost as well, what most people will identify with to opening the door for a lot of this stuff is X-Files, but came from Twin Peaks. So there you go.
History of Twin Peaks.
and it was so amazing that, a lot of that stuff was, off the cuff. They would do like readings in the morning, and they would be presented scripts in the morning. They would get, feedback from the actors as to what they wanted to do, and they would go with it. So, a lot of that shit was just put together a few minutes before they started shooting. They had like a loose guideline, and they just kind of built on wherever the fucking road took them, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, just you think about like the cast they had and the characters they wrote and how deep all those characters went. I mean, you think about like the Log Lady and Dale Cooper and you got Hawk and Audrey Horne, and of course, Laura Palmer and that whole thing, and Donna, and I mean, it just goes on and on, all the characters and how they all worked together and blended, and people came and went. Dr. Jacoby, like it's so funny because it is a soap opera, which is funny because they even inserted then a soap opera in the show, which is what they're like watching in different TVs, like you go into different people's houses and the soap opera's on, and it just is great. And then the culture it's created, and the whole pop culture around it with the cherry pie and a double R, and of course I've got my my little coffee mug. Black Dale Cooper line and all that. And you know, it's fascinating because it's not even a show that was on for like 100 years. You know, like it literally was on for 2 seasons. Second season wasn't because they forced them to solve the network forced them to solve the murder quick. So once they solved the murder, which they didn't want to do, but they just did it because David Lynch was just, walked away from it then and was like, forget it. The second season just wasn't as strong, and they were really struggling to find things to do. And they went deeper into the mythology stuff, and then you end on the big cliffhanger of Dale Cooper being stuck in the Black Lodge, and the doppelganger Dale Cooper being out, and it just ends. And you get that whole like, what the hell? Like, it's gonna end like this. And then, then you get the film Fire Walk with Me, which was really cool, and it's very awesome to see, and it fills that up. But once again, it's like, that's such a David Lynch film, and Mark Frost had nothing to do with it. It was strictly David Lynch, and it went more into that David Lynch side of things. But it was still great because it filled in things, and you got the whole like, I'll see you in 25 years later, or I'm sorry, 20 years later thing, and which then brought us to the second half of Twin Peaks, which came out 20 years later, and what we got on Showtime. And kudos to Showtime for putting that out there, because I don't even think they even saw a lick of anything or read a script. They just said, okay, fine, here, we're gonna make this. And I think much to the chagrin of many, many folks out there, they were very disappointed with that season. And I struggle with it. I have gone back and watched it. I have the box set too, and I've seen it. And on multiple viewings, it is. I'm not going to say it's as good as, you just can't live up to the first season of that new and all that. I think what they just did is they really expanded on it. And I do think, after watching so many different things, I think I get it now to a point, as much as you can get it with Twin Peaks. Little disappointed, I think, how they handled some of the characters, and with the whole O.G. Horn thing, and obviously the two Dales that were going around, and it was odd, but I still enjoyed it. And I'm glad that we at least got it. So I'd rather have gotten what we got than nothing at all, because I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it's like, oh my god, this is awful. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like it, and that's totally fine, but I liked it. It was really weird, but I really liked it.
Do you prefer the Twin Peaks or X-Files reboot?
The Twin Peaks reboot over X-Files for sure. I you know what? There was moments in that X-Files reboot with some of the episodes I thought were awesome. Like, especially when they got a little back into the Monster of the Week kind of thing, which I always loved. And that, from the whole Kolchak the Night Stalker stuff. Like, I love the Monster of the Week episodes of X-Files. I hated the series finale. And I go, this is just sucks. Like, that last season of X-Files, those whatever, I forgot how many, 5-6 episodes. Like, I did not like it at all. I really didn't. The season, the second to last, I don't know, whatever the little mini season was. The next to
last season, yeah.
I like that a little bit better. And like I said, they did a couple of those episodes in there that I just loved. But the second, I just didn't like it. And I hated the series finale.
Yeah, I left it at the season before, because I remember you kept telling me that you just weren't into the episode. So I was like, all right, I'm going to leave this on a high note with, with the mystery with on the bridge on whether Mulder had gotten taken by aliens or was it?
Yeah, like it was left with the aliens and dying of like a poison, or I forgot what it was, and it just ended on like a big cliffhanger. And then the season started, and it like went in reverse and backwards, and how we led to, I don't know. It just they dropped in my eyes, they didn't do the show justice. I don't think they. I don't know if you could say, well, was it a bad idea to go back there? I mean, I thought it was great seeing their characters again on screen together, especially after the way the original series left off. And then we got the weird movies in between that were just basically extended episodes.
Right.
I don't know. I just didn't like the way it ended. It did not leave a good taste in my mouth. I much preferred, as crazy and as weird as the Twin Peaks season was, I'll actually say I prefer that over that last season of X-Files. And I know that's an unpopular opinion.
Well, here's another swerve for you. You just posted that you saw the ending of Schitt's Creek, is it called?
Yes.
Okay, that's a series that I've watched, I think, 4 episodes of, and that I've always been like, all right, I have to go back to check it out. Do you think, and without giving away the ending, do you think that the ending was befitting of that series?
I absolutely do. And I actually have that as one of our topics today, which is like
Okay.
it's our very last topic.
Is it? Okay, so I hijacked this. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's all right. I mean, you know what? We'll move it up. Here we go. And
Dun dun dun.
goodbye, Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, I saw that, and I wanted to because I saw the ending of Modern Family earlier today as well. So
Okay.
two like comedies that have been around. Schitt's Creek was around for what 4 or 5 seasons?
6 years or 7 years, 7 seasons. Yep.
7, and
It's like
Modern Family is 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
So,
and the crazy thing about Schitt's Creek is it's going out like when the show's at its most popular, like it's just still being discovered by so many
Right.
people. And I mean, I think, finally it getting on Netflix was huge. I mean, I hadn't watched, I think we started watching Schitt's Creek maybe 2 years ago when it landed on Netflix, because I don't even, Pop TV's like, I don't even get it. It's a Canadian channel, and it was on for a while, but then it wasn't, and now it's not on my cable system at all, or kind of is. I don't know. It disappears.
right.
But so it's crazy though that the show like is kind of like, I mean, it's over, and it's just like the show that everybody's catching on to and going nuts with popularity. And I love the show. I've loved it from start to finish. I think it's great. The acting's great. The cast is great. The writing, it really is a funny show. The pace is perfect. And without giving away the final season or the series finale, 100% loved it. Thought it ended it the way you'd want it to end. Everything is wrapped up. All the major characters. And yeah, I mean, it was like, I think I posted, like, it was extremely satisfying. It was very satisfying to see it. Like, it was no like, oh my God, now this thing happened, or horrible. I mean, it's a comedy show, so it's like, the drama in it is light and all that, but it just ended in a really nice way for me. Like, they tied it up.
Yeah, and to your point, this is the first year that I've seen people comment about the show on Facebook. So that's why it was like, oh, people are catching on to this. And like I said, this was on my to-do list for quite a few years.
Right.
I think I didn't get beyond them being in the motel with Chris Elliott. And I don't know if they're still there or not, but I know that it's gained in popularity, and I didn't know that it was on Netflix because it's not on Netflix here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's on Netflix here. Everything but obviously the new season. The new season you can watch if you don't have Pop. You can watch it on Hulu, but I think you need to Hulu like live. Like, you have to upgrade Hulu.
Yeah.
We were watching it through through other means.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that you bring that up, because I did want to, since I saw you touch on this on Facebook, I did want to bring up the Modern Family finale, because I mean, like I said, show's been on for 11 seasons. Obviously, there have been a lot of people that have watched this show in order for it to be on this long. The ending was kind of a bummer. And
really, okay, yeah, and that's a show like I was never a huge follower of the show. I mean, I've seen the reruns on they rerun it on Fox 5 here, and I've seen episodes, but I'm not like I sit down and watch it. So but it is a funny show whenever I watch it. I just haven't watched the whole seasons from start to finish. So, but I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, I think the way that it wrapped up, I mean, it makes sense, because it's about every character like kind of moving on with their life, and you're dealing with a lot of kids going off to school, kids,
Right.
career decisions, a lot of different things that, people parting from one another, it's difficult to make funny, basically,
Right.
So it's, it was a lot of like fact of matter-ish, a lot of, people kind of weaving in with one another with how their lives are going to move forward. So there were a few funny aspects to it, but for the most part, it was kind of like sombering with, these are parents that are now, saying goodbye to their kids for the first time in their lives. These
Right.
are, older parents that are used to having, people around who are moving on as well. So it's a lot about moving on to life, and they're already talking about possibly doing a spin-off. So I mean, we'll
Yeah, I
see.
mean it's a hugely popular show, and all the characters are great, and great cast and all that. So I
Yeah.
mean, and that's it. Whenever a show like that is like really big, and the spin-offs are inevitable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I was talking about this with somebody else about Schitt's Creek and will there be a spinoff? And I don't foresee any spinoff, especially after like on I watched the documentary at the end, which is like the final season, and they did a mini doc, and it was really great, really, really awesome, like interviews and things like that. And then after every episode, they've been doing like a little like 4 or 5 minute like roundtable thing with the actors,
Right.
and it's been great. So I don't think there, and honestly, when you get to the finale, like there's no reason for spinoffs at all. Like
Right.
I don't think the show could work without the cast, the ensemble cast like that. I mean, because everybody is so interconnected and the storylines and they all play off each other. What I can see them doing, which is what I know a lot of British shows have done, and Schitt's Creek has done it at least maybe 2 seasons ago. They did do a Christmas special, a holiday special.
Okay.
And if there's anything I feel, not that they mentioned it at all, I mean, they didn't say it. I'm just putting this out there that I think if anything was a possibility of them continuing on just because of the show's popularity, is them doing like sort of that holiday show where they bring everybody back for kind of one last thing, for a kind of a last hurrah. And the way the series ends, I think you can see that. So once again, I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying that I think if there was anything in the cards, that would be the thing. But I mean, or this is just it, and it's fine because sometimes you just let it go. But it's so crazy how popular the show has become in a like all these years later, and it's funny hearing the cast and all that talk about that. Like they can't believe it. Like it's this little show, like very low budget, like just kind of doing it, and they never would have thought in a million years that the show would gain this kind of like a following or popularity. Like they all very honestly are like kind of shocked over the popularity of the show. And also too, like what it does and what it's done culturally and all that. But anyway, I think we've said enough about Schitt's Creek. It's very good. If you haven't started watching it, I highly recommend it. Here in the US, it's on Netflix. You can watch by the time you get through it. I'm sure then this final season will be on Netflix. But there's other ways to watch the final season too if you're crafty with those kinds of things. So, all right. So moving on to our next topic here. Moving away from Empire Records, Twin Peaks, and Schitt's Creek. Marvel Phase 4 postponed. I mean, we all knew this was coming. I mean, and it's not like this is like super new news, but it's just sort of making the news because it's something, I guess, a few days ago they finally announced a lot of the dates and the shuffles and all that.
Yeah.
And but basically where it is now is I'm gonna see if I can bring this up and share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay.
If I can get this up here. And this is coming courtesy of the Screen Rant website. Let's see if this will share properly. And let's see if we can make it bigger. Can we make that bigger? No. Well, it's kind of tiny. Too tiny.
Even tinier.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Tiny.
Tiny. Anyway, so the basically what's happened is Black Widow has now been moved to November 6th, which was the original date for the Eternals.
Yes.
Black Widow was originally supposed to come out May 1st. Obviously, not going to happen. So they moved it now to November 6th, and Eternals has now been bumped to February 12th of 2021. And then Shang-Chi, which was supposed to be February 12th, is moved to May 7th.
Okay.
And you had Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness supposed to be released on May 7th, but now that's been moved to November 5th, Doctor Strange of 2021, which then is now kicking out Thor, which was supposed to be next year into 2022, February 18th.
Huh.
And then moving into Black Panther 2 on May 8th, 2022, and July 8th, 2022 is Captain Marvel 2. So this is, I guess,
Wow.
So Black Widow's obviously been filmed.
Yes.
Eternals, you got to say, is got to be filmed, I guess, unless they have any,
reshoots,
reshoots and stuff like that, which I don't know, and then Shang-Chi sounds like it was, most of the production was done already. Doctor Strange, though, I don't think has even been filmed yet. So I got a feeling that may get, I think anything past the stuff that's already been filmed
is getting pushed.
It could be pushed out even more. I mean, so I mean that's just with the Marvel stuff. So
that's
it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's not even counting, Sony with Venoms, Sony with the next installment of Spider-Man, which is supposed to be 2022.
Right.
And DC they were rumoring that maybe Wonder Woman was going to be, rental online, and then they would bring it out in the theaters after, but then they nixed that whole idea. Yeah. And so, that's kind of like, mind-blowing. My head was swirling as you were switching dates back and forth and naming all these things.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's like, having moving all these giant, these are huge movies, huge tentpole films, that, like, you can say, okay, release it digitally, but honestly, they make these movies banking on people going to the theater and selling
these
tickets,
are event movies.
Right. Exactly. And I think, you're saying, okay, they're moving this stuff, like, basically Black Widow's now going to be the only Marvel movie released this year. Like, we were supposed to get 2.
Right.
Black Widow's now the only one. And then February will be Eternals of 2021.
Okay. So February, May is Doctor Strange 2, you said?
May is Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, and then Doctor Strange 2 is November. Okay.
Yeah.
And then 2022 is Thor, Black Panther 2, and
Captain Marvel 2.
Jesus. So 2022 is just fucking stacked.
And they don't even mention, the Spider-Man, which has not, they didn't even get to production on that yet. Production was they were going to go into production. It's suspended. So, who knows how long that's going to be, because obviously they're not going to, who knows?
Well, and what about now, right before all this went down, they had announced that they had a writer for Ant-Man and Wasp 2, who was going to be the showrunner for Rick and Morty.
Right.
So
I don't know. Maybe they'll still do. Obviously they can still write scripts, right?
That's
you could still write scripts. You could still do a lot of the pre-work and things like that, and you could do a lot of stuff virtually between casting and design work and all that. And there's a lot that can be done in lieu of actual physical production, to get ready for something, so that way you can just go right into it again. But it's so weird to me, because it's like, wow, man, it's like everything's going to change, and especially on these sets and all that. But you think about the film, even the TV shows too, like I guarantee. I mean, I can't see now the winter, Captain America Winter Soldier show now. That was supposed to come out in the fall this year. I think they were still filming when
all this happened.
And definitely the WandaVision show and I mean the Loki show was filming still.
But does that make them, because I know Billions and I forget what other show announced the other day that what they were going to do is split this season up. So, for example, with the show Billions, they had shot 7 episodes.
Right.
And they're releasing those 7 episodes and then shooting the rest after all this is done, with the idea that hopefully, they can start cranking out episodes towards the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
The remaining 4 episodes that they have to shoot.
Right.
So I mean, it's kind of strange if you think about it that Marvel is going to push everything as opposed to combining things, But I mean, they know what they're doing strategically with marketing and everything. I think,
right.
I think that they probably only want to release 3 properties a year for now, as opposed to doing, maybe 5 that were coming out when you had Fox and Sony releasing things at the same time. I can't see them deciding to all of a sudden, okay, well, in 2023, we're going to release, an Avengers film plus, 4 other movies. I don't know, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is something where after all this is said and done, they'll decide, you know what, we want to release a Deadpool, we want to release a, something else. So they're going to be like standalone movies. So they're really not going to affect the rest of the MCU. So we will put them out, on their own. And I mean, I don't know, could you see Marvel releasing standalone films where it isn't going to, tie into the MCU, or is it going to tie into Avengers somehow?
I don't know. It's hard because, you've set up the MCU as a connected universe.
Right.
You've spent a lot of time. I mean, 10 years and then Infinity, and now you're still doing it. So I don't know if I could see them doing that with the standalone films. But you know what? That being said, though, now that I kind of think about it, honestly, and because I said this, and we've talked about this, like when you take Black Panther, for instance, like Black Panther, great movie, loved it. And I think at the end of the day, you could say, well, Black Panther felt like a film that could have stood on its own if you never watched any other MCU film, because any of the other characters that kind of come in to the movie are not like, like the big like character from all the other films. So
the biggest character is Kilgore, and I mean, he's one and done with this movie.
Right. So I think that you could
Killmonger.
But I think that you could probably do, maybe if you made the film like that, where it exists in the MCU, but it's not like it feels like a standalone movie. I think if you write it like that, because I think that's how Black Panther felt to me, is that if I didn't know anything else and I just wanted to see Black Panther as a superhero movie and all that, I could just go see that and not be like, oh, well, I didn't see Captain America Winter Soldier and I didn't see Avengers Age of Ultron or Civil War or something, so I think maybe if you did it that way, you could probably do it. I mean, we know DC has no problem doing standalone stuff at this point anymore. So, but you say, okay, once again, it's like you go back and you talk about like the New Mutants. Like, why isn't that just out already? Like, enough. I get it. But I mean, at this point, you've taken such a financial bath on that film. Like, just put it out there. Like, now is the perfect time to release a film you don't know what to do with, because it connects to nothing. It connects to nothing in the MCU.
Right.
Just put it out there. Like, put it on, like do what everybody else is doing. Like, get it out there in digital. Let everybody pay for it at first, and then move it to Disney Plus in like a month, or I don't know how they wanted to. But like, just put it out there already. I mean, for real. Right. I mean, how much box office is the New Mutants really going to do? I mean, let's be honest here. Who cares?
Yeah, I think the selling point at the time was Macy Williams and Game of Thrones, and now that that's all
Right.
done,
I mean, come on. I mean, that's so long ago now, right? I
yeah,
mean,
she's making Audi commercials. That's where she's making her money now. So
yeah.
um, yeah. My one thing there is, I wonder if their idea for Deadpool is to have it just stand on its own, to have absolutely nothing to do with the MCU, kind of continue what they've done with the first two movies, put it out there so that it's its own entity and so that it doesn't like fuck with the other characters that are in the MCU. Like maybe
Right.
they'll introduce like heroes or villains that they don't want to use, in the MCU. Maybe there's something else, or who knows? I mean, the X-Men question mark is still there, and until we see what they're going to do with that, who knows? How they're going to introduce them, or how they, and if they'll still have them intertwined with Deadpool at all. So
Yeah. I mean, I think about it too. It's like the longer all this goes on, with everything, it's like the less and less relevant that New Mutants movie is becoming. I mean,
right.
it's I and I don't know why I keep harping on it so much, just because it's like, it's kind of it at this point. It feels like a curse, in the sense that this movie's cursed. Like, it's like the Chinese democracy of like
Right.
of films. It's
Well, here's my question to you. On Disney Plus in the States, do they have the X-Men movies?
I believe they do. I know they have the
Okay.
cartoon, and I think the movies are on there. I have to double check. The cartoon's 100% on there.
Okay. Here, the movies go from the first X-Men movie all the way up to shit, the one where they time travel. Not the day after tomorrow. Days of Future Past. That's the last one. There's no Logan isn't included. X-Men Apocalypse isn't included, and X-Men the newest one, Dark Phoenix, isn't included.
Yeah, and that may be with licensing stuff. Some of those licensing deals that they still have with other streaming services.
Okay.
That
could be it.
That's the same thing too. It's Star Wars, like Solo's not on there and stuff like that. I'm actually looking right now.
Because I found
my account, and I'm gonna look.
I found something interesting out the other day, because initially,
so there is no X-Men movies. Oh, hold on, let me pick that back. Nope, there's no X-Men movies. The only thing on X-Men that I can watch on Disney is the cartoon. So X-Men Evolution cartoon, the original X-Men cartoon, and Wolverine and the X-Men. Logan's not on here. Wolverine. Oh, like I said, Wolverine. The only thing Wolverine is a cartoon. So X-Men films are not in the States, not on here.
Okay, let me see if I can log in on my end.
Which is, and it's got to be because of licensing stuff. Like, it's on other streaming platforms like Amazon, Netflix, or any of the cable stuff like Stars, HBO, Showtime. I mean, I don't know, So it could be locked up in some of that stuff, because even some of it too, like, you'll go on and you'll see it'll be like, oh, this movie's coming soon when the licensing is up. Because I think for Star Wars, go on for Star Wars. Let's see. Yeah, you have all the original. You have Last Jedi, Solo. Okay, so Solo wasn't on there, so Solo's on there now. So you have Last Jedi, Solo, Attack of the Clones, Rogue One, Force Awakens, New Hope, Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. You have Empire Dreams, which is a documentary. So Force Awakens is not on here. Oh, no, I take that right back. Force Awakens is on here. So basically, the only Star Wars movie not on here right now is Rise of Skywalker. They have all the films now. When it first launched, Solo wasn't on there, and I think Last Jedi may not have been on there yet. Oh, you know what?
Well,
So if I click on Solo, it says coming soon to Disney Plus. Due to existing agreements, this title will be available July 9th, 2020.
there you go.
And oh no, Last Jedi is on there. Force Awakens is so I think Solo, maybe Rogue One is Rogue One's on there. So right now when I click that one, that's the one that says it's not available yet.
So here for me it says more Marvel movies, and it has X-Men, X-Men 2, Last Stand, The Wolverine, First Class, Days of Future Past, and then it has the 3 Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, we don't have any. It's not here at all.
Yeah, as far as the animated stuff, the X-Men is not here.
Four.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep.
This movie's terrible.
I just saw the first one I saw in the theaters.
They
The
only have
second,
I was gonna say they
yeah.
only have the Fantastic Four cartoons on here. That's what's on
Okay.
here on our side.
So let me see. And here's something they did with the Mandalorian. So the first day that this became available, they released every Mandalorian episode. And then now they started releasing them 1 week at a time.
Nice. It's the same thing they did out here. Like when when it was new.
Yeah. So if you didn't binge watch it the first weekend, you have to watch it 1 episode at a time. Let's see if this loads. I know with Clone Wars, they're a few episodes behind as well. Now it seems as if they're up to episode 6 finally, but I saw episode 7 the other day.
Now you have a lot of the Marvel movies up here though, which is they have Black Panther, Civil War, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, Thor Dark World, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Captain America First Avenger, Winter Soldier. Actually, I want to go back and watch Captain America First Avenger. That's a great movie. Iron Man 3, Avengers Age of Ultron, Thor, Iron Man 2, Ant-Man. They don't have Ant-Man and Wasp up here yet because I think that's still on Netflix.
Ant-Man and Wasp is on my end.
Yeah, I think that's still on Netflix here in the States. So that's probably why.
Okay.
Runaways is on here. Oh, Agent Carter's on here, which is great. Inhumans is on here.
Oh my god.
That was so bad.
I watched 2 episodes of that.
So bad.
So horrible. And it was funny. I remember watching that and being like, and people are bitching about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is like fucking watching The Godfather in comparison to this shit. It was just so damn bad. So for the MCU, we have Endgame, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Infinity War, Black Panther, Ragnarok.
Infinity War is still on Netflix here.
Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Doctor Strange, Civil War, original Ant-Man, Age of Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, Thor Dark World, first Avengers movie, then it's Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man 2. So it's missing Iron Man 1 and 3.
Which I will, just to do something really quick, this was actually posted in our group today since we're talking about Marvel stuff, is Taika Waititi is actually doing right now a live stream on Instagram. Doing Thor Ragnarok. He's doing like live commentary.
Oh, cool.
So sorry, you guys all may want to leave right now and actually go watch this, but yeah, he's actually on Instagram doing a live commentary to Thor Ragnarok. He's someone posted it in the Facebook group today. And I was like, oh, cool. When is he doing that? And it said 4 p.m. PST. I'm like, oh, let me see. Pacific time. Oh, yeah. So that's probably around now, 7 o'clock. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he's doing a Thor-themed party. I'm doing Ragnarok live commentary Instagram live. So he's doing that right now. So you may want to jump up. We're almost done anyway. So
but
what
else do you want to talk about?
So, real quick, I thought that we could end the show just doing a quick commentary on WrestleMania, because I just
Oh,
felt
okay.
like we don't have to go deep into it because I know not everybody here is our big wrestling fans. However, I do think it's worth talking about since it was really unique and what they did, and I actually feel like what they did during the show could be a future of how other things can be done moving forward during this time. So for anybody that knows or doesn't, I guess for doesn't know, is professional wrestling has still been happening in the US between WWE. We have AEW. NXT is also part of WWE, and they've still been doing wrestling matches and doing the whole storylines and everything, but they've been doing it to no audience at all. AEW has been doing like some of the other guys, like wrestlers and staff, have been kind of sitting out and being like a little bit of a crowd, but WWE's. Oh, go ahead.
They've taken that away
Oh,
because
I liked it.
well,
actually liked it.
here's the problem. Since a lot of the mandates in the various states, you can't have more than 10 people
Right.
together. They decided to like film the wrestlers beforehand. The ones, so now they have like backstage commentary, but that's filmed
Right. Prior.
different. It's and actually I should say this: it is all pre-taped now, due to the fact of what everything happened. Like WrestleMania, for the first time ever, was recorded 2 weeks prior to the event.
Right. And that was some of the stuff that like I just wanted to talk about because it's unprecedented, obviously giving the times, but I all I gotta say is this about wrestling as a whole, who continuing, is I will give them all the credit in the world for trying to still entertain and put the show on. I'm not saying everything's been great, but they are trying, and they're trying. I mean, they really are, and they're keeping people employed between the wrestlers and the crew, the people who work behind the scenes on pulling these shows off. So I will definitely give that kudos and the credit for trying to create some sort of entertainment for all of us. These wrestlers are out there, they're wrestling, they are touching each other, there's contact. I know they're testing everybody and all that, but they are not going to call themselves, not going to go, oh, they're putting themselves in the front lines and heroes. I'm not going to go that far, but they are still trying to put on a show for everybody. So I will say I give everybody credit for doing that, and thanks for providing entertainment. I think what made WrestleMania unique, as you said, was everything was pre-taped. There was no crowd, but they did do some interesting stuff, which I was like blown away by, because I just thought I thought they were great. I really did. So the other thing too, for anybody that didn't know, is usually WrestleMania takes place over one night, like, or a day. This they split up into 2 nights, and they had all their different matches and things like that. But the 2 things that they did that were different was they did Undertaker and AJ Styles match, Boneyard match, but they filmed it on a set, a production facility. They built a set. This was all done over 5 days, which was fascinating, and it was very cool. And and once again, they employed people. They worked in a safe environment, but it was great. They put on like this little mini cinematic like fight scene, which was I was like, this is great. This is like right out of a movie. It reminded me of like They Live, when Roddy Piper fights in the alleyway. I thought it was so cool, man. I loved every second of it. It was so well done. And then the next night they had John Cena versus The Fiend, and this weird like the Funhouse match. And if the character The Fiend has this like weird version of like Mr. Rogers Mr. Rogers' like Neighborhood, Pee Wee Herman, and they like fought in like this extra dimensional vortex thing. But it was just like entertaining, man. I was laughing the whole time, but
as was I.
It was great. It was really fun. I they did something I haven't seen in a long I don't think ever, actually. And I mean, they've done some stuff in the past like that on wrestling and WWE, but
I think the one person that could get credit for kind of kickstarting this is Matt Hardy. And this is something that WWE kind of missed out on, because since his whole broken universe was invented somewhere else, they didn't want to incorporate it when he came in with it. Obviously, the crowd was into it because they were doing all the chants from the Broken Universe. But this was them. And if you have the WWE Network, you can see there's several Matt Hardy specials on there. Anyway, this was definitely, both matches were definitely influenced by the craziness of what he's done on the Hardy compound and the matches that he's had, and just like the different cutting away and bringing things in from different aspects of people's career, and poking fun at different things. Because if you really go in and analyze the Firefly Funhouse match, I mean, credit to John Cena, they're fucking taking some major digs at him and his career. And,
I can't believe how deep they went, man. I mean, that was like, and definitely credit to opening himself like that and in doing it, and I couldn't believe how deep they went with stuff. Even the stuff with McMahon and be like, that's good shit. Like, I was like, holy cow, like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think it was Rock in our little wrestling chat mentioned that Bruce Pritchard says that all the time on his podcast, how when McMahon really digs something, he'll be like, that's good shit. So a lot of inside jokes there. I thought it was entertaining, and it's funny because I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. What is WWE come to?" And it's like, it was obvious who watches more or less on a frequent basis and who just pops in for WrestleMania and that's it. And to more than one person, I was like, where have you been the last 3 years? Because Matt Hardy's been doing this shit for the last 3 years, basically, between Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor and a bunch of different places. And no one had a problem. And now that he's gone to AEW, it's going to be funny to see those same people that are bitching about WWE doing this stuff saying, oh my God, how great AEW is now with, hey, they had Matt Hardy do fucking magic in the ring the other day by taking something away from Jericho. So, and more than one person said, I mean, I listen to the Busted Open podcast now, almost every day because I find them entertaining. Bully Ray, aka Bubba Ray Dudley, said that Dusty Rhodes used to always say, "We're making movies, brother." So to him, he was saying, this is an extension of Dusty Rhodes' vision. Had Dusty have been around to see this, they were saying, he would have gone apeshit with all of this stuff. So they're already acting in the ring, so this is just taking it one step forward. And there are two matches that I showed my wife and kids from all of WrestleMania. And it's these two matches, the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match. So to me, they were the highlight.
Absolutely the highlight. That, without a doubt. I mean, there were some other good matches and stuff. And, and it was great. But they were the highlights because they were out there. They did it. And I like that they did it. I'm glad. And if there's anything good to come out of these times, there's a lot of things that are, it's that, it's forcing, entertainer, I mean, across every industry to innovate, rethink, pivot, try to make new things, and that there's there's one positive thing coming out of all this, so that's I just I felt like I wanted to touch on it because it's something we do talk about in the group. We have a group chat that goes on constantly, wrestling chat. That's a sidebar from the actual Galaxy Geeks podcast Facebook page, but we do talk about it in the page, on the page as well. And we've talked about it on the podcast. Victor's done special episodes with Rock, all dedicated to usually reviewing the matches and talking, pre WrestleMania and then after WrestleMania, leading up. So I just thought it would be worth mentioning and talking about it for a little bit. So, so that's about it for us. I do want to just give a quick shout out to my buddy Walt Blau. He has a really great podcast. And he just moved it out now to YouTube as well. It's called Walt's Kitchen Table. And I was actually a guest on his show a while ago. And it's literally when you go to record it, you go to his kitchen table and just talk, and it's all conversational and really getting to know people, talking about different things in their lives. And so if you're really just interested in just hearing some real conversations with just regular folks, it's really cool. He does it well. Walt's he asks all the right questions, and he's very easy to talk to. So cool. Definitely check that out. Walt's Kitchen Table. You can find it on YouTube. He uploaded all the episodes there. And I don't know, anything else you wanna plug?
That's pretty much it for now. Nothing, nothing that comes to mind right now.
Well, Victor does do other podcasts as well. So he does Mars Attacks, and I know you do with Mark Striegel, Talking Rock, right? Don't you do some stuff?
I do his I do 90% or 99% of everything that's posted on talkingrock.net, and then I do a podcast with him on Patreon. For $2 a month, you get the podcast. We put out a podcast weekly on Fridays, and then during the week, I'm posting a ton of shit from just videos or different polls or different questions, and I mix it up between new music that I come across, and then I do a classic video of the day. And then if a big name artist puts out a video, I'll make sure to post that. Like, that's my last post of the day to get people's comments on stuff. So it's cool. I went back and looked at people's comments for the last few weeks, or not the last few weeks, for the last week, more or less. And you can definitely notice that people are home because people are chiming in left and right on all these things. And it's just very gratifying to see people say, wow, I never heard of this band before. Such a great catch. I just listened to all their entire discography on Spotify. Thanks for turning them on to me. I'm now ordering their CDs, stuff like that. I get people saying stuff like that all the time. I do a new releases post on Talking Rock every Fridays. So I come across a lot of stuff, and it's like, oh man, I got to include this video up on Patreon. So if you want to see all this shit, $2 a month gets it.
All access.
Gets you in, all access. So if you want to find new music and get turned on to it, and I do troll people with some of the stuff, because there are some videos that I come across that I'm like, man, this is bad. And it's just to see if people react to it or not. And it's funny, I'll get people say, they aren't serious, are they? So yeah. So if you want to check out that other stuff, yeah, it's there.
Awesome. Well, I think that just about does it for us for tonight. So thanks everybody for tuning in tonight, watching. Obviously, you'll be able to rewatch this in Facebook. We will post it to the YouTube account as well. This is where it will live forever and ever and ever until we delete the account. But we'll try to do this again next week as well. If there's things you guys want us to talk about, tackle topics, we're open to it. So feel free to shoot them on over to us, and we'll incorporate it into the show. Now that I know how to use this nifty new agenda thing, we can bring them up. I can add them to the agenda. So, but yeah, so thanks again, everybody. Hope everybody is safe and healthy, and I'll let Victor do the honors of signing us off.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching us here on the Galaxy of Geeks feed. We'll see you next time. See ya.
Thank you for listening to Galaxy of Geeks podcast. You can stream this or download any of our episodes from galaxyofgeeks.net, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or Stitcher. You can also follow Galaxy of Geeks on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks again for listening. This concludes our show.